Deep in the heart of the forest, there stood an old, old tree. This tree had been here since before, growing, dreaming, listening, being. This tree had heard the rhythm of the earth herself as she rocked her seeds deep in the earth. This tree had heard the whisper of the breeze as the shoot breaks into the light in spring. This tree knew the murmur of the breeze through its leaves and the gentle whoosh of autumn leaves falling. And this tree, it knew the patter of little squirrels climbing up its trunk, the buzzing of eager bees, the swish of passing birds' wings. And all these things the tree kept as memories deep in its core. And sometimes, when the time was right, the tree would echo out these sounds for the forest to hear. It would play its music. And when it did this, all the other trees would stay still. Even the air would hang still to listen. One day, as the tree was playing its music for the forest all around, an old man passed by, and he heard the music of this tree. And this old man thought he had never heard anything so beautiful in his whole life. And so that he could remember the tree, he reached up and he wove some of the branches together to make a living harp. And then he went home to his village, but on the way he met the king of that land, and he couldn't stop himself from sharing the secret of this tree, and so he told the king about this special tree that played beautiful music. Well, the king loved music, and he had a court full of musicians, and so he insisted that the next day the old man took him back to this tree in the forest for the tree to play for them. And they came back, and they all gathered around the king and the musicians and the old man. And there in the forest they waited and waited and waited. But the tree was silent. Finally, the king grew impatient and said, "This tree cannot play by itself. Come, musicians, see if you can make it play." And one by one, each musician stepped forward and they raised their hands to the branches, but they could not make even the softest of sounds or the most meaningless of murmurs. The tree was silent, until finally the king said, "Cut down the tree. Maybe it is more use dead than alive." And the old man, ashamed at having shared its secret, said, "Please, your majesty, I am no great musician, but let me have one try. If I can make the tree play, will you let it live?" "Very well," said the king. And the old man stepped forward to the tree. But he whispered something to the tree before he began. And then he raised his hands to the branches, and at once the tree trembled into life all along its trunk, and the leaves began to vibrate and fly free with laughter, and music arose from the tree, sweet sounds that swayed and swelled, swelling and swaying like a sea of trees, and the music played out in the forest. And all the musicians and the king and the other trees bowed their heads to listen. And as the sweet music played, after a while it changed into a mournfulness and a moaning, and the tree began to sing songs of sorrow. And sap began to run down its trunk like blood, and all the listeners bowed their heads. The music played on until it was played out, and then the old man brought his hands down from the tree, and the tree was still. And the king spoke. "Tell me, old man, you whispered something to the tree before you began. What did you say?" And the old man said, "Your Majesty, I cannot command or demand music, and I am no great musician. But you must have said something." "Yes," said the old man. "I simply asked the tree to play, not what we wanted to hear, but whatever it wanted to say." And so the tree lived. And I would invite you, if you live near a forest, to go into the forest and listen to the music of the trees as we enter this beautiful, gentle autumn.